Hi everyone. So I've been using this Apple iPhone 14 Pro for over 3 weeks now, and I think it's a great phone. I really like this phone, but I still have mixed feelings about it, which I already talked about in my impression video. And I still think that the 13 Pro was a bigger launch than this phone. But we are peaking in terms of innovation, at least Apple is, or Pixel 7 Pro is kind of similar as their predecessor. But you get the point. We are actually reaching to a point where it's really hard to innovate in a simple phone. That's why I think Samsung making foldables. But this phone is not for someone who's coming from 13 Pro. I mean, if you're not stupid like me, you are not going to upgrade from 13 Pro to 14 Pro. You're someone who's coming from even the 10 series or 11 series. For you, this is a huge upgrade. A bit heavy and bulky, but huge upgrade. I think people have wrong expectations from this phone, and I think this phone is highly misunderstood. For example, you will find a lot of people who will just think this is the coolest thing that has ever made, this dynamic island. And there are people who will think this is a pure gimmick. I think I'm in the middle somewhere. See, it is the only thing that can tell this phone apart from last generations. And for the most part, I like it. It is more clean, looks modern in terms of Apple standards at least, and has some cool tricks up its sleeves. But I believe the notch was more forgivable as compared to this. I think this concept has more potential, and with time you can get used to it, but as of now it is kind of distracting, and not to mention it is very hard to interact with. So I will use this dynamic island more for information purposes rather than multitasking. So I think it's neither cool nor gimmicky. It has the potential to give you better experience in terms of information, but it is not a replacement for any kind of multitasking. There is a trade-off. It will be there if you're watching any content in full screen, but while interacting with the phone, it doesn't look as ugly to other people. For you, either the notch or dynamic island will fade away with time, so it's most probably for other people how they think about your phone. Now the always on display is also a new thing here, and I know not many people like it. I don't use it on any phone just to save battery, but here especially because it is more in your face. I mean, you can do something in the focus mode and remove that wallpaper to make the screen black, but it is still a lot of information in your face, so I'd rather turn it off. But what can I say? The notifications are still mess in iPhone, so I can't expect Apple to give us better notification on always on display. So just because it is not great right now does not mean in future it's not going to be. Maybe Apple can give you a better notification system even after 2 or 3 years. But hey, if you still have that phone, it might work out for you. And at this point, I am not even sure whether I'm being sarcastic or I actually believe Apple can improve the notification system. So like I said, it has the potential to be something which is not right now, but I won't expect you to buy this phone just because of this feature. And the battery life is also worse because of this feature, but I will talk about that later. Now the last upgrade, which even I find hard to say it is an actual upgrade, but it is for a lot of people and especially for creators, the cameras. See, I think the iPhone cameras are consistent and incredible for videos, but when it comes to point and shoot, they are not the most fun cameras. So if you are an average Joe like me, the upgrade will be almost negligible in the daylight at least. The low light has improved with the updated sensor and there's no doubt about it. But still the photos are more dull, or I can say natural. The HDR in the day or night is not great. But if you are someone who's going to click a Pro RAW and edit them, it might be a great camera to shoot with. And for the videos, it is the best camera smartphone. Have a look. The video recording is still going to be the best part of owning an iPhone. I don't think anything beats iPhone in the video department. So if you're just doing vlogging, this is going to be perfect for you. And the switching between cameras is just so smooth. I don't know why Android still can't achieve this. Now you can also shoot cinematic mode in 4K 30 and 4K 24 frames per second. And I think it's good for a lot of people who don't use DSLR, but for people like us who shoot a lot of video, it still looks artificial, like I can see my hair and it's just blurring like anything. But I think it works for a lot of people, and it's great to see 4K now because the 1080p was not a really good quality. So if your priority is video and especially in low light, there is nothing better out there. No phone can compete with 14 Pro series. And if you just don't compare it with the iPhone 13 Pro cameras, they are a good upgrade for pro people. The only other thing I would say that has improved is going to be the speakers, but that's it. I mean, the front camera, autofocus, it's not noticeable for a lot of people. And if I talk about that 2000 peak brightness, it's great on paper, but in real life, you might not even notice it, or the phone will get so hot that it will dim down the brightness anyway. There are no improvements in charging, and it still has that lightning port which is painfully slow for data transfer as well. The battery life has gotten worse too. It could be the new iOS 16, the haptic feedback, or even the always on display, but the battery is not as awesome as it was on iPhone 13 Pro. But the most people do not realize that it is still an incredible phone, and the main reason has nothing to do with this phone itself. It is still the ecosystem, app support, and the software that makes iPhone stand out. And it is true here as well. Aside from some bugs in iOS 16, it is still a great experience. And no matter how hard Samsung and Google is trying to make an ecosystem, they are still behind Apple. And no, it's not because of the feature, it's because of the ease of it, fluidity of it, and the continuity of it. I myself prefer Pixel over iPhone, but the thing is, the integration between all the devices like my iPad, Mac, AirPods, Apple Watch is just, I don't want to change that just because of that ecosystem, and I understand that wall garden now. The thing is, it's just easy. And I think that is the main reason that Apple cannot release huge upgrade with every iteration, because they have to maintain that tight ecosystem. I don't agree with it, but I think that's the price we have to pay. And I think the iPhone full potential is going to work only when you have all the ecosystem around it. But otherwise, I don't think this phone deserves $1,000 or even $1,600 in India. Honestly, it is not worth in many countries, but if you want to use that promotion display, get a matte finish pack, or even want that telephoto lens, you have to spend the absurd amount of money on this phone. There is no other way to experience Apple to its fullest. Personally, I would never recommend a Pro Series phone in India or in so many countries, but the thing is, right now, you cannot spend $800 or $900 for a 60Hz phone. See, I get it, and I always say that the iPhone 60Hz is much better than a lot of Android 120Hz phone out there. But when we talk about such phones, we are talking about a subpar mid-range phone. But if you compare it with a phone like Pixel 7 or S22 Plus, they are basically in the same range. Those are still much better display, and they offer so much more. If I was not a YouTuber, this phone would have been my last Pro for many years, and I would never spend this amount of money on a phone. And if I really have to, I will buy something like Galaxy Z Fold 4, where I actually think that it gives me the return of the money I'm spending on it. Or I will just go for a phone like iPhone 13, which I think is a great value iPhone in any country right now because the price has reduced. But if you really want to go pro and are ready to invest this much on a phone, it is a great phone and you will not regret buying it, especially if you are already in the ecosystem. But I would not recommend it upgrading from anything above 11 series. Do let me know if you have any doubt about this phone, I'd be happy to answer. And there's a pro tip from my side, do not spend over 1 month's salary on a phone. If you understand the point of this video, please hit that like button. My name is Rohit, I'll see you in the next one. Till then.